Hi, welcome to Punchline Talks, the business breakfast briefers. I'm Mark Owen. Each week, I invite a panel of business experts to review the modern newspapers, find out what's happened in their own individual business and their own individual business sectors, and finally, what's caught their eye in this week's Punchline. But before I start, I just want to thank our fantastic sponsors, Hazelwood's Accountants and Business Advisors, and we really couldn't do the show without them or any of our advertisers. We're also going to be doing a special question time where the panel will ask each other a couple of questions and we'll see how that pans out as well. Okay, let's meet the panel today. We've got Andy Hazell. He's a co-owner and founder of Smart Home Sounds. He's just spent the best part of £2 million to open his brand new bespoke audio visual centre at Staverton Technology Park. It's a huge business milestone for the ex-Gloucester and England rugby player. The company employs 15 staff and a turnover of £10 million. And I was there myself to go down for the grand opening. It's a fantastic place. So we'll find out all about that from Andy. Thanks for joining us. We've got Toby Coombes, director and architect of Coombes Everett, based in Cheltenham with 12 employees, approximate turnover just under 1 million. The company is responsible for a number of iconic projects throughout the county, including the £5 million new build at Star College. So we'll find out how the marketplace is faring and what Toby and his team are working on next. So great to see you again, Toby. We've also got Chris Pockett, Head of Communications at Renishaw, the engineering giant at Gloucestershire's largest privately owned company, employs over 2,400 across 4 sites in the county and delivered a record revenue of £713 million in its last financial year. Profits up 3.8% to 127.2 million for the year. Not bad going, Chris, not bad going at all. But it's not all plain sailing, so we'll find out the challenges that Renishaw are playing for such a global player. Okay, guys, let's see what's making the headlines. The Guardian, BBC apologises Trump over Panorama but rejects 1 billion claim. The Daily Telegraph, second Trump clip doctored by the BBC. The Metro, 84 in, 113 out. The Eye, UK to unveil strictly new Denmark-style laws for migrants. The Times, 5 days of NHS strikes opposed by most doctors. The Daily Mirror, Andrew knew Epstein abused girls. The Star, Ferg off and don't come back. Do you know I cooked for Fergie, actually, when I was in the Royal Air Force? I just want to make that. So that's my claim to fame. The Daily Mail, fear of being seen as a racist contributed to failures at Doom's tragic Sarah. The Daily Express, Sarah failed by officials afraid to cause offence. And the Independent, Afghan heroes still at risk from MOD data breach. The Financial Times, Big Short investor, Berry shuts fund. And the Sun newspaper, Petty brother arrested over threats. And there's the headlines. It's a real mixed bag. But let's start with you today, Andy. What have you picked out from the papers, please?
I picked out an interesting story. It's from a company called Purdy and Fig, which is an online company that has basically cleaning products. And they position themselves as cleaning shouldn't be a chore. And they did their first £1 million turnover in one day. So for me, obviously being online, being digital, really interested how they've activated that digitally over the last 3 years, really, which is quite a quick growth.
Do you keep personally an eye on these online companies like that, to see what they're doing in order to help your own business a lot?
Yeah, massively. So we track loads of different, like all the different sectors, whether it's cleaning, fashion, etc., just to see how they activate things digitally. Normally, if they continue with certain campaigns, certain things, they're obviously you can't see their data, but you hedge your bets that something's working well for them.
Okay, and is there a particular like one or two that you keep an eye on as well, apart from this one? If you don't mind me
Yeah,
asking.
yeah, Purdy and Fig are quite good. Supplementation companies are quite good because they're very competitive. And so it's trying to find businesses that haven't got a huge brand name that are trying to make a brand name, if you like. So maybe like 3-4 years ago, that had been someone like Gymshark against Adidas and Nike. How are they? That's the tender business we try to watch. That normally have a bit of an external investment, so they're trying to invest it quite well. So obviously that's our plan. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to disrupt big players. So we're trying to take any inspiration we can, really.
Yeah, David and Goliath with hardly any budget, really. That's the way it works, isn't it? Fighting your corner. We're doing a great job. Looking forward to catching up with that. Thanks, Andy. Chris, what have you picked out from the papers, please?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. So from the Times, and it's a story about the Aviva boss, basically warning about the removal of significant removal or reduction of the benefit of pension salary sacrifice. We're told as a nation that we're not saving enough individually towards our future, and it really feels that we're disincentivizing people of all ages from saving towards their retirement. Short-term gain potentially for the government, but long-term pain, and ultimately, of course, it's the state that will pick up the pieces if we're not saving enough for our retirement. Yeah, an interesting story, and one that's we're all keeping a close eye on, I'm sure, both individually and as companies.
I totally agree, but I just think it's absolutely barking. At the end of the day, just let people have their money, let them retire in. Otherwise, they're going to have to use the state, isn't it? Is that the crux of the story, Chris?
Yeah, I think so. Pension salary sacrifices. It's a very positive scheme that is utilised by tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people across the UK, we're finding a situation where it could cost companies even more national insurance. So it's going to take away some of the national insurance benefits for business as well. At a time that obviously we already took a big hit, companies took a big hit from this year, from this April in NI increases, which Renishaw's case is costing us 4 million extra per year in national insurance. So these are not inconsiderable sums, and it looks like companies again are going to be hit.
Okay, well, we're looking forward to the budget. I must admit, I get quite excited and hot under the collar with the budget. I met Rachel Reeves, don't you? She's actually very, very nice, by the way. She's very funny. Anyway, I won't go on about how much I like Rachel Reeves too much, otherwise I get lots of people writing to me. Toby, great to see you again, mate. What have you picked out from the papers today, please?
Yeah, it's I was found an article in the Times which probably picks up on one of Chris's points about firstly stealth taxes, and second, what's very relevant in my business is sustainability. So this is an article saying in London they're going to make electric cars pay the congestion charge. Now I sort of roll that back and go, well, the congestion charge was originally brought in 2003 to aid air pollution. So on the basis electric cars don't create any pollution in the air, why is this then taxable at £15 a day? Just seems slightly unfair. I'm not saying that electric car drivers, I'm one, shouldn't be paying some form of additional duty, because obviously what the fuel duty brings in for maintaining roads and highways is important, but let's badge this how it should be. This isn't about air pollution, this is just a stealth tax.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, it's absolutely bonkers, isn't it? What I don't like is when you go to Heathrow Airport and suddenly you have to drive into the zone and suddenly having to pay an extra just to pick somebody up for the airport. I don't get it myself. Anyway, well, thanks ever so much. Great selection today of stories. Let's go over to you, Andy. Let's talk about your business, Smart Home Sounds. How long has the company been going for? While I find up your website.
Yeah, I started about 10 years ago. So obviously it was in the background while I was playing rugby, Mark. And then I just transitioned really from when I finished the rugby. Obviously it was a lot smaller, and it's just gone from there really.
And because you're mainly online, isn't it, really? What's the secret of success online? You talked about sort of emulating other businesses, but
Yeah,
why have you done so well compared to others? Because it's a tough market. There's lots of other players in here.
yeah, it's visibility really, Mark. Visibility and trust. So when we first started the business, I realized we needed to be visible. So when people are searching specific products, so personally, I trained a lot on SEO. I started to write a lot of blogs, just based in stuff I would want to read, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how we did it. We started off writing articles, comparing things. Now, obviously, recently, over the last 4 years, we moved into YouTube, which is again a huge marketing channel for us now.
And you sort of sell things right across the way, isn't it? When I was visiting your showroom, it was a lot bigger than I expected it to be, but also the diversity of the products that you have as well.
Yeah, so we probably about 2 years ago now, we started selling TVs. So we try and get into a category, understand it, try and get a bit of a foothold before we bring in other products. The old saying, don't try and run before you can walk, really. So we get to know the products. So if someone does call, we know them inside out, really. So just building that catalogue. Obviously, there's thousands and thousands of products you can buy. Obviously, cash flow is one of them, because we have to store them in, on site as well. So it's an interesting model, really. And not 99.999% of our business is online. So that's why we opened up our first store, really, in Cheltenham, because a lot of people were like, oh, can we come and see these products? So we just try and capitalize locally now.
Now, I really like the showroom, by the way, and the thing is, I go to lots of trading estates and business parks, and dovetail in there quite nicely. Was that a long process to find the office? To find what you were looking for, the ideal location?
Yeah, really long process, because I don't like, we didn't want to rent ideally, so we wanted to find a position. So the last properties we were at, it took a bit of time because we bought them at Triangle Park. So I really wanted a building that we could possibly buy, and I thought it wasn't going to be possible in the end, but we managed to find the right location, really. And so it's been probably 2 years, and then we've had the renovations took more or less a year to get to the stage where we are now.
One of the elements of the actual showroom itself at the top, when you go upstairs, guys, they've got their own film studio in there as well, where Louis and what's the other chap's name? Sorry, Kieran. Yeah. Nice young guys, and they shoot all your videos for you, don't they?
Yeah, so like I said, it's almost a separate part of the business now. Obviously, we're 150,000 followers, so we have a really good AdSense revenue that comes from that. We get sponsorship deals to review products, so it's really turned into a good business model on the side. So we just use it as a marketing channel. As long as we can keep recruiting and keep growing that area, it helps our online presence as well. Okay,
well, thanks ever so much, Andy. Oh, by the way, how did the launch go?
Yeah, really well. Thanks, Mark. Better than expected. So it was good. It was stressful, but we're off the ground now, and the big to-do list has already started. So
yeah, well, it's always a worry when you open these things, whether people are going to turn up or not. But I believe you had around 400 people, wasn't it? It was pretty damn good.
Yeah, it was like better than expected. Quite a bit of money went through the till, which we didn't expect, really. We just wanted to say, hey, here we are. If you're ever looking for these products, come and see us. It's very relaxed. So we were over the moon, really, Mark.
No, good stuff, and congratulations, and thanks for advertising with us as well. Every penny counts this side as well, Andy. Anyway, let's go over to you, Toby. Let's go, and I'll have a look, bring up your website while we can. A second. Whoops, a second. If I can find it. There we go. Let's just go over to you. There we go. Right, Toby. Let's talk about Coombes Everett. How long's the company been going for now?
So we celebrated the birthday this year, so we're 15 years old this year, which is crazy where time's gone. So John and I set up in 2010, and really with an aim to do something a bit different, to offer clients a good service with good design, and lots of people say this, but offer value. And by value, we don't mean cheap, we mean you get what you pay for, which I think is really important for where we come from. So we've built, I think, a good reputation for high-end residential, be that new builds, be that refurbishments, and Andy actually worked with us on a project probably 6-7 years ago, refurbishment of a big listed building in Cheltenham, where he provided the audio-visual things. So that's sort of been our bag through that time. Alongside that, both John and I have got experience previously in care. So 2011, we picked up a project for National Star College in Pittville, which was a residential unit and daycare centre for them. And we've then worked with National Star through all of those years, doing various buildings up at their main site in Ullenwood, in Hereford, like I said, in central Cheltenham. So it's really sort of that care has come along. Equally alongside that, there's various commercial. You can see the old Alpha filling station there opposite the Cheltenham train station. some school work that's just sort of building through there. And yeah, sort of the whole master planning, big sites, people coming to us saying, how many houses can we go on this site? So it's not really our main focus, but it's things we can do, really.
Okay, and not be funny. What's the market like now? Because I'm hearing various things. The housing market has slowed down, obviously because of the budget. You know, it's a difficult. It's very competitive as well. What you do, isn't it? And some of the bills take a long time.
They do. I view it. So if you take that as our core, our sort of developer residential, if I put it that way, most of those clients we're working for, we've had repeat business probably for 10 years. And those SMEs are finding it really difficult. The increases in legislation, the increases in reports you need to do to get planning. I mean, it used to be that you could sort of submit a planning application for 10 homes and it cost you £10,000. Now you're looking at ecology reports, biodiversity net gain reports, highways reports, flood reports, planning consultants. The whole suite of things is just made it exponentially expensive for those smaller sites. The flip side of that, and obviously the media's all this build, baby, build. There was something in the Times today saying Persimmon made increased profits this year. So there's a real difference between the volume house builders and the small SMEs. If you've got a site for 300 homes and you're sharing those reports around, it's a little bit in each dwelling, as opposed to the whole thing. So it is a difficult market. Equally, then build costs have gone up, and there isn't necessarily the certainty of selling things in the end. So it is yeah, it's not a great place. Equally, I think the profession at the moment and the industry at the moment is reasonably robust. People want to keep working. So what we need is a bit of consistency. We need to know what world we're operating in. And obviously, a budget at the end of November basically means no one's going to do anything August, September, October. There's then Christmas. So you've effectively stalled everything for 4 months, 5 months, irrespective of what actually is going to be said. New homes, loads of people want to get in their new house pre-Christmas. But if you've got a budget at the end of November, people are going to go, well, hang on a minute, this might impact me. What world am I operating in? So it seems a really strange time for something so key to set.
Yeah, to leave it to November is actually crazy because everything is stored, nothing happens in December. And you're right. And the thing about the housing market is everything is connected to it. Selling of, like your homeware systems, washing machines, carpets, everything, solicitors, conveyancing, everything is grinding to a halt at this particular moment. Thanks ever so much for giving us a good overview there, Toby. Really appreciate it. Let's go over to you, Chris. Renishaw, I mean, fantastic profits this year. Everything seems to be moving up, but it's not an easy market to be in, isn't it? Can you just explain what Renishaw do, first of all, for listeners that don't know?
Yeah,
And
sure. So
I'm going to bring up
yeah,
your
I mean,
I'm
we
going to bring
are
up your little video. So I'm going to bring up your little video as
okay.
well, Chris.
All
Okay,
right.
so that's all right.
Okay.
When you can talk over it, when just swap them over slightly here. You should be over here somewhere. There we go. I'll play
So
this, but there's no sound.
Renishaw, you good? Okay. So Renishaw, we supply precision measuring equipment, dimensional measuring equipment, that helps the world's manufacturers make the products, precisely, accurately, sustainably, the kind of products that we all use day in, day out, whether that's anything from the TVs and sound systems that Andy sells through to precision architectural sort of elements within homes, through to planes that we fly on, the smartphones in our pocket. There's really nothing in your life, your daily life, that Renishaw hasn't been involved with in some way, shape, or form. But the thing is, we're not that visible because our products aren't on the end products generally. They just help manufacturers around the world to make all those fantastic products that I just talked about. We're truly global. 95% of our business is export. we've pretty much been an exporter from day one of the company, so back in the very early 1970s, because the challenges of measurement and precision in manufacturing have always been there. And today our largest markets are China. China's a quarter of our business, the USA, Germany, and Japan. So yeah, it's really global. So we're sort of at the mercy of global forces, whatever they may be. We live in an increasingly complex world. Obviously, we've faced a huge period of complexity over the last 5 or 6 years, recessions, pandemics, global tensions, obviously between especially US, China. Now, obviously, the Trump tariffs, which have caused us some issues as well. We've managed to offset those, actually. We've been able to apply surcharges to our US customers. So unfortunately, it is feeding into the US consumer, ultimately, the manufacturing consumer of our products. So actually, the US is doing remarkably for all the challenges. That actually the US is quite a good market for us at the moment, as is Asia, EMEA. So European, Middle East area, that's is pretty weak at the moment. Germany is having a really tough time. There's a lot of metal cutting machine tool manufacturers in Germany, especially, that are suffering for a number of reasons. The switch really from internal combustion engine to EV, it's had an impact. There's a lot of more metal parts in an ICE than there is in electric vehicle. So that has reduced the requirement for machine tools. But also the Chinese market's become a lot tougher. It's a lot tougher export market. We're doing okay there. We are facing more sort of low-cost competition, but we've got a really strong brand. We've been in China for 30 odd years. We've grown our business there substantially over that period. So we're not complacent about the threats within China, but we're doing okay there at the moment. And so yeah, it's a mixed picture.
Can I just ask you, Chris? Because I mean, it's a big global organisation, right? To be the communications director of so many different sites, how do you manage that? I mean, to communicate what you're trying to do in so many different global levels. I know I've only given you a couple of 30 seconds to explain
Yeah,
it, but
I mean, my role's more a sort of corporate role, so I'm not involved with marketing communications, for instance. We have whole teams of people across our various business units within our overseas operations. We're active in pretty much 36 markets. Well, 36 markets where we have wholly owned subsidiaries. They have their own teams as well. So my role really, I'd see, is reputational management. It's selling Renishaw as an entity. That's the way I see my role. I'm a salesperson for Renishaw as the corporate entity. So it doesn't matter how you deal with us, whether you're a potential employee, an existing employee, a potential customer, existing customers, an investor, someone that may be making a decision on the planning application that we have in. That's my role. I see that as at top level is to sell the benefits of Renishaw as an entity.
Okay, no. Well, thanks ever so much for such a great overview of it all. Okay, it's question time, guys. Hopefully you might have a question for each other. Who'd like to start? Anybody? Got any questions for anybody?
Can I ask Andy? I'd be really interested, Andy's decision, when he's still obviously in rugby, to go the route that he did and the business that he chose. I'd be interested to know what sparked that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, actually, Chris, because at the time I did all my coaching badges. It's a natural progression. So I was thinking, do I stay and do something with that? And then I decided just to start from scratch, really. Just a new challenge to try and challenge myself. Basically just learn a whole new skill, which is actually a lot harder than rugby. So I find that out pretty quickly, that doing that and learning different ways and dealing with people, etc., is tough. But I suppose, yeah, I just wanted a new challenge, really. And I always, I was probably wasted too much of my money. Talking about pensions earlier, I should probably point out I used to buy TV, sound systems. So all the players used to say to me, what should we buy? What headphones should we buy? So it started like that. And I used to advise them. And then I got some products and thought, actually, why don't I try and sell this to the players? And that's exactly how it started. So then they buy stuff off me, etc., etc. And it just grew from there, really, Chris, pretty organically.
Who was your first employee, Andy? How did that come about? Because that's always the
Um,
biggest step.
Yeah, basically the first employee was someone actually who used to work in the ticket office at Gloucester Rugby Club. So it was like 2 hours, a couple of days a week. And she came to work for us that way. And then I employed one of the academy people from one of the academy lads that was at Gloucester Rugby at the time. And I still I still stay in contact with him regularly, actually. He commented on your post. So yeah, then after about 2 years we got our first full-time employee. As soon as we had enough money to basically pay for someone, we basically used all that money to buy an employee.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's just been very organically, all self-funded, just trial and error really. Just yeah, a lot of error, but you know we're trying to get there.
And is there a particular product that sells the most? You know, is it earphones? Is it TV? What's the number one product?
Yeah, it was basically when I was in playing rugby, obviously streaming music was coming in, like Spotify, Apple Music wasn't there. So I was like, this is a really good thing. There was a product at the time called Sonos, which could handle digital music. So I bet everything on digital music, being around the home and streaming services. And that basically that's what we wrote all the content on about digital music, etc. And that's our biggest brand now, is Sonos for us. So it started from that. So it was a good gamble, really.
Okay. Well, I've got a question for Toby. Anyone got a question for each other?
I've got a question for Chris.
Toby? Yeah, go on, Andy.
Yeah, but obviously, Chris, you employ a lot of people. Obviously, for me now, the challenge employing people is a lot different for me. Obviously, the rugby HR side is a lot different to day-to-day HR. And I just wondered, like, all the people you employ, what kind of things do you really stand out for you that keep people engaged in the business and make them grow and really do go beyond to stay within the business, really?
Yeah, it's interesting that because we're all individuals. So I think that's so I think one of the key things is having really good managers, good people managers. I think in engineering companies historically, we focus very much on their engineering skills, but actually have not necessarily always paid attention to the people management skills, which are really, really important. And there's that old saying that people don't leave jobs, they live managers, you know, and I think there's an awful lot of truth in that. So creating the right environment, you know, individual managers that can inspire people and, you know, be sort of really engage people so that they want to come to work, I think is really important, whatever role it is. But I think, you know, working in a company that's kind of got a purpose as well, that makes really interesting products. I think, you know, giving people from an engineering perspective, interesting technology to work on all the time, but also more widely, you know, we spend a lot of our time at work, so it's about creating a great environment, but also feeling that you work for a business that's beyond just the products, that's kind of got some meaning. And I think hopefully we have that at Renishaw. As I said earlier, we're involved in some really exciting stuff, most of which we can't actually talk about externally. You know, we deal with the world's largest consumer brands, all the ones you can think of in some way, shape, or form. And so when you see things like the work we do with British Cycling, you know, we made a significant amount of the components for the bikes for the Paris Olympics and Tokyo Olympics. Those are great things that we can talk about and people feel proud about internally. But there's a lot of other things that we do. So I think that's it. You know, we spend so much of our time at work. It's important we spend more time with our colleagues than often we do with our families. So it's important you've got the right environment and people feel motivated and look forward to coming to work every day. I think at a general level, that's the way I see it.
I think it relates to all of us, actually, isn't it? Every single business, you know, you have to have
Absolutely.
pride in what you do. And it's funny what you said about that first member of staff. And it was I think it's the same for all of us. So probably Toby, you got your business partner there, taking on your first person. Probably was such a big gamble. Was it the same for you?
Completely. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's that leap of faith, isn't it? It's the build it, they will come sort of mentality, isn't it? So
Do you say that all the time as an architect? Is that your strapline now? Yeah. Anyway, guys, unfortunately, that's all we're running out. We're running short of time. So, sorry.
If I had enough money to build it, then maybe, but we've got to rely on someone paying the bills, unfortunately.
I know that feeling. Okay, guys, thanks ever so much for that. We're going to do the pick of the punchlines very quickly. We're going to just 30 seconds each. I'll start with you, Toby. What have you picked out from Punchline this week?
I picked the article about evolution, and I guess this is the the amalgamation of the local authorities into one unitary authority, which in principle I think is a brilliant idea, because what it will do is give us a sort of a cross-party decision making and allow councillors to vote what their constituents want without sort of the overbearing impact of party politics in Westminster. So I think the principle's there. I don't know how it's ever going to pan out on the ground with the constant churn of councillors being re-elected. You look at the programme, and the programme for it is probably 4 years, and you're coming up against the buffer of general election. What happens then? Do people just come in? So I think principle brilliant. I just really question whether it can happen.
And also the devolution, that's just Gloucestershire County Council that just voted that. All the others haven't agreed that one yet. So Gloucester's doing their own thing anyway. Anyway, thanks ever so much. And it'll be government that decides which route they're going to take. Chris, what have you picked out for this week's Punchline, please?
Okay, one that's very close to home. Going to Great Pains. It's a quick story by Simon Hacker, who's a local journalist to us, about the upgrade we're making to almost 250 windows on our historic mill building, very iconic building, dates to about 1801, 1802. But I think it's sort of, for me, it's a wider piece about we're custodians of this site. It's a truly historic site. There's a mill that predates that mill called Sherry Mill that's around 16th century, so 1500s. And the local historian tells me that he believes he's got evidence that there has been activity on that site since the 14th century. So, 600-700 years of activity on that site. So I think our role is as custodians. I mean, hopefully we'll be there for a long time yet. But but the reality is, at some point, Brennishaw probably won't be on that site. But for our tenure, it's important that we act as a true custodian and look after that heritage on that site. So for me, that's the sort of wider piece there.
Okay, and Simon works for us, by the way. She's a Punchline reporter. Thanks ever so much for that. Andy, what have you picked out from Punchline?
The article about Costco building where it starts on the Triangle Park in Gloucester. Obviously, that we used to be right opposite that. So it's just interesting what that sort of big business model will have on local businesses really in the area. I think it'd be interesting to see how that impacts many things. Obviously, they're very price led, not experience led. So it's interesting for me to see what it looks like and how it affects the local trades, really local businesses.
It's funny you mention that, because they do sell a lot of TVs and white goods products, all sorts of things. They bang it high, don't they? Sell it cheap. So you're right. I think it's going to have effect, but it's very popular.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Obviously, we've tried to make an experience like we price match Costco, but sometimes going into those environments where it feels like you're getting a bargain because it's all out and it's cheaply done, it resonates with customers.
Well, without a shadow of a doubt. Well, at least we got a bit of time. We'll be watching that story very, very closely. 78,000 people read that story. Anyway, okay, that's all we got time for today. I'd just like to thank my fantastic panel for joining us. It's been great to see you. My wonderful sponsors at Hazell Accountants and Business Advisors. And if you like the show, please like, share and subscribe. And we'll be back again next week. But between that time, please remember, it's all in the Punchline. Thanks ever so much. Bye.